just to mention that this meeting is recorded, it's being recorded, and will be posted by Holger later on Facebook. Excuse me, on YouTube, yes. And the first part of this meeting, you will be muted for the first part and for the guided meditation, and then you are welcome to unmute yourself and explore whatever questions you may have. So if we can just take a minute to tap into the silence, which is the silence of being, the silence of our true nature, the universal silence. It's a resting, relaxation of sort, where you're alert, but you're not alert towards anything specific. Your attention is not focused on anything specific, but yet you are attentive. A sort of listening, a welcoming sort of listening, where you're not standing apart, you're not listening towards any specific object. Whatever appears to you, let it be, allow it to be as it is, without trying to improve your experience or alter it or change it in any way. You don't need to understand anything. You don't need to figure anything out. We are not seeking any state. Rather, we're inviting ourselves to rest, inviting the mind to rest, not forcibly. You don't need the past in order to be. You don't need to know anything about yourself in order to be. So every moment is a brand new moment, unencumbered, fresh, no beliefs, no stories, no histories. In the absence of any beliefs or stories about yourself, you do not disappear. Only the stories disappear, but you don't. You meaning in this moment, the reality that perceives whatever it is, undeniable, it is not a belief or a feeling or a thought which perceives. That which perceives is not an image, is not a thought. That which perceives is I. The changeless, invisible reality of consciousness. The body may be male or female, tall or short, but the reality which perceives is neither male or female. Reality is non-phenomenal. So in your inquiry, in your quest for truth, all you need to do is not maintain the false. In other words, not to rely on the past, which is not your current experience, and not to rely on the future, which is not your current experience, but to rely solely on now. What is it that is real now in your experience? It is not the past stories or the past history, the events that happened to you, which are real in your experience right now. In this moment, everything is as it should be, perfect and complete. In spite of possibly thought arguing with the now, in spite of feelings possibly arguing with the now, the now is perfect and complete as it is. Nothing lacking and nothing too much. The perfection of being, which is not being somebody, purity of being, the reality of being. Which I know this moment as this aware presence. And this aware presence invisible and yet undeniable is the reality which perceives. Can we come to this understanding that perfection is this very being, this moment, being, not being somebody that's lacking something or missing something or regretting something, but beingness itself. Not being a good person or a better person or a spiritual person. But the being which in this moment perceives this perception, which this moment knows it is, I know I am. In our contemplation of truth, we do not discover truth, we do not discover reality. Rather, we shed the false being the belief that I am a personal body-mind, that I, consciousness, is a product of the brain or the product of the body or the product of the world. The belief that I am born, the belief that I exist in time and space, while in fact, time and space appear to me. I do not exist in that which appears to me. That which appears to me exists in me. We are looking for the peace that's unconditional. The peace that defies the mind, the causeless peace of being. And the only place we can find it is in the now. The only time we can find it is in the now, not tomorrow. So we are regretting the past or hoping for the future. We are mind tripping. It has nothing to do with the peace of being. In ignorance, we give reality, we attribute reality to the world, to the body, to the mind, while reality should be attributed to consciousness, awareness, presence, beingness, and not the forms which appear and disappear. So in your inquiry about reality, about truth, first you need to come to the understanding about the reality of consciousness. Awareness, the reality, this moment which perceives. And that this reality is not limited, it's not contained within a skull, within a body. The reality is absolute. And then you need to come to the understanding that everything is consciousness. That in fact there are no borders. There is no duality, there isn't a duality between that which appears, the manifestation, and consciousness. Which is the dissolution. Of the sense of separation. Well, I've spoken enough. If there are any questions, anything that you would like to explore, please make sure you unmute your mic, because I believe you're all muted. And whatever questions you have, any questions.
Magdi, hi.
Yes, hello, Nathan.
I in my meditation and also in the everyday life, I still have this sense of separation between what I manifest and between I that is perceiving. So intellectually, I understand it. It makes sense. It's beautiful. But I can still feel the pull of manifestation away from that which knows it, or that the manifested kind of goes its own way kind of thing. And I'm kind of a bit lost. Then I capture this, kind of realizes this, and it's kind of sinks back to me again. But then it's not, the sense of separation is still there. It's still imbalancing. And there are holes, as it were, where I feel I can see it retrospectively. Obviously, in moments of peace, in moments of relaxation, in moments of being with myself, there's a much more deeper gravity into myself. It tends to happen less, but in a more like stressful state, I don't know, in the underground, and people not wearing masks, and their memories, I've got underlying problems, the body problems, and all these kind of things that kind of have an impact still on. But it's not. It's in a way there is more peace now than it was before, and I kind of almost see that it's not the same anxiety. It's not the same. There is a much more, something more there, present. But the sense of separation is not dissolved completely. It's still there. So how do I bring it more together? We speak of zero distance, and it makes so much sense. When I'm walking nature, the trees, it's all speaks to me, it's all me.
Yes. But first, a good question is who wants it? Who wants a sense of separation to disappear?
Yeah.
Because to want something to disappear, you have to take a position as a personal self. Right? Because the wide open sky has no issues with the clouds, whatever shape clouds appear, the wide open sky has no issues with the shape of the clouds, right?
Yeah.
The wide open sky has no issues with if the weather is rainy or snowy or windy or sunny, yes? So what is it that wants a different experience? As soon as you want a different experience, you are in the mode of unhappiness. You have adopted a position of a spiritual self, a spiritual person. And that's not what we are talking about. We're talking about an understanding. We're not talking about any personal experience, any particular personal experience. We're talking about understanding, the understanding about reality, the understanding that consciousness is real. You can test it every moment and every moment. And you have to inquire that consciousness is not a product of the brain or product of the body, is not limited by the body or by the mind or by the world. There is no evidence in your anywhere that consciousness is the result of thought or the results of feeling or the result of the birth of bodies or the death of bodies. Well, that are beliefs. So the contemplation, non-duality, is about an understanding. It's about understanding of non-duality, the understanding about the reality of consciousness. Yes, it's about that understanding. So your experience, when you are in retrospect looking at your experience, you are looking at your experience in thought, but your experience is this moment. Yes. But if you have a scoring card, you're scoring. If you have a scorecard and you're looking at the scorecard, it's a different thing. It's a different thing. You need to let go of this scorecard. Yes. And what's always available to you is what you can rely upon. Not what's not available to you. What's always available to you is what you can rely upon. So what is it that is available to you in this moment?
Just me, presence.
Presence, awareness. Thoughts appear and disappear. These sounds, the sounds of these words, they appear and disappear. They're not available to you in this moment. They're gone. The words you just heard right now are gone. They're gone. The thought you had right now is gone. Right? But
yes,
what is it that is not gone? Yes. There are no words for it. It's not visible. It's not an object. It's not something that you can perceive phenomenally, but yet it's absolutely undeniable. The undeniability of being, of awareness, of consciousness. So this is the more you visit God's castle, the more you're happy. The more you visit this understanding that we're just talking about right now, the more the understanding visits you. But when you're doing some judgmental thought because you're looking at the scorecard and you're saying, oh, the score is not, it should be 15 and it shows that it's 13, I'm -2. You're experiencing a different experience of mind. You're in the illusion of the separate me, you say. So when that arises, don't pursue it, but don't judge it. Don't judge it either. I'm not saying, but don't pursue it, and don't judge. Oh, shoot, I didn't hear what Magdi said. Here I am, I'm failing again. I'm going back to the scorecard. I shouldn't have. No, that's not, that's a spin also. But simply notice that at that moment, that's what's happening. You don't need to maintain the sense of the illusion of success and failure. Because in God's kingdom, there is only love. There is no success and failure. Right? Success and failure, they're the illusion of man's mind. So make no distinctions whatsoever. But in the Sin Ming, which is a writing by one of the Zen patriarchs, they said you make a hairline distinction, and you set heaven and earth apart. You set heaven and earth apart with a hairline distinction. Make no distinctions.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
And don't contemplate yourself as somebody who exists in time and space. As I said, time and space appear to you. Space appears to you as perception. Time appears to you as thought. but you don't appear, you don't exist in time and space. You don't exist, in time and space. Right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
yes, it's just
Absolutely.
simply to revisit this
It's simple.
understanding. This understanding is always available to you as the reality of being. See. No scorecard, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Magdi.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Makes a lot. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Any questions? Hi, David.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, some non-dual teachers say that there is nowhere to go and nothing to do. And this confuses me because if there's nothing to do, then I just continue my habitual activities. I do what I enjoy. Is that self-realization? Is that contentment? Is that freedom from suffering? Or am I deluding myself? Are they deluding themselves? I find it very puzzling.
I understand. Well, in an absolute sense, yes, it's true that there is nothing to do and nowhere to go. But I like to add a little postscript to that. If you are happy, if you're established in happiness, or if you're happy, there is nowhere to go and nothing to do. Go, nothing. You can go wherever you want to go, do whatever you want to do. If you're happy. If you're happy, you're not going to do things that cause unhappiness onto others. It's not possible. And if you're happy, you're not going to go to places that are destructive or unhealthy. So the key thing is if you're happy. But the fact of the matter is that, yes, we do experience moments of happiness, moments of peace. But we have to be honest, sincere, and humble to acknowledge that, in fact, that's not really our experience. And it's not very helpful for a non-dual teacher. And I'm sorry, I don't speak this way myself, but since you brought it up, it's not helpful, in my opinion, for non-dual teachers to base their teaching on that. It is possible that a non-dual teacher on occasion may say something like that in a certain context, in a certain dialogue. Teacher may say, well, there is nowhere to go, nothing to do. But it has to be within a certain context where it's understood, but it's not the entire teaching. You don't base the teaching on that. The teaching is there's much more to it, let's say. And the teaching is about the understanding. It's about the understanding about reality, about truth. It's not about adopting a slogan or, hey, okay, look, there is nowhere to go, nothing to do, go home now, do it, whatever. That's bullshit. It just...
Should the teaching adapt itself to the spiritual level of the seeker?
Well, a teacher, quotes unquote, the teacher meets the student that meets the question. It's not meeting the person, it's meeting the question. So the question, every question is specific. So you don't have one answer to all the questions. So yes, the teaching, quotes unquote, the teaching is basically there is a question and there is an answer to the question. But the answer to the question is very particular at that moment.
So if the question is, I'm suffering, I'm not as happy as I would like to be, then what kind of answer would there be?
Well, let's not get generic. Let's be specific. I mean, if you are suffering, then we need to look into it. We meaning I, if I am suffering, it makes sense for me to look into it. Now, we all know suffering, and to a certain extent, we all have our fixes, our mechanisms. I don't know, whatever it is. Some people drink, some people dance around. They spin in their mind. Some people deny their suffering. Some people sometimes we blame.
Why do they do those things?
Well, nobody is. Let me just put it this way: it's not fun to look at your suffering and remain with your suffering and explore your suffering. It seems that it's too painful to look at one's suffering, that it's better to sort of find a way around it, a distraction, an avoidance. I don't adopt that position. I'm very interested in when there is suffering. I've been interested for many years in looking at what are the dynamics, what is going on here, rather than blaming my brother or my boss or denying that I'm suffering, bypassing my suffering via spiritual slogans. No, I don't find that to be helpful. It may be a band-aid sort of application, but it will always backfire with a bigger infection, a bigger situation. And okay, so in terms of suffering, there is a general rule of thumb. And suffering, by the way, by suffering, I refer to the experience that we have of avoidance. We're being attacked, we're avoidance and seeking. Avoidance meaning basically is resisting what is, not wanting what is, and seeking is wanting what is not. So I refer to suffering as a process of avoidance and seeking, and but behind that, what was previous to the process of avoidance and seeking, is the belief that I am a person, I'm a separate self. That requires a looking into that, because we can hear those words, well, because of our suffering is the belief in separation, but we need to sort of really get a sense of it, a deeper understanding of it, to really see it, that yes, I get it. Every time that I'm suffering, I'm taking on the position of me and you, me and her, me meaning separate me, and you out there is separate somebody else. Why are you doing this to me? Why I've been good to you? Why are you not being good to me?
Or me and my desires.
Or me and the desires, right? Me and the better me. Me, a lesser me and a lesser me. Yeah, absolutely. So we have to sort of come to see that within ourselves, see it convincingly to ourselves. Be clear, the clarity within ourselves that I'm suffering whenever I'm assuming myself to be a separate person.
So once we see clearly that we're suffering, we see why we're suffering, because we're seeking peace and happiness in ways that won't give it to us.
Right.
And what do we say at that point? What is there a path of transformation, or is it just there is nothing to do?
Oh no, of course there is a path of understanding. So yes, so first is the path of the individual. We are seeking as a person, we believe ourselves to be a separate self, and that happiness, we're going to obtain happiness in situations, relationships, money, being loved, etc. Some sort of experience, and we go through that process, and over, hopefully sooner than later, we realize that's not working. There may be moments where we are happy, but overall it's pretty miserable. At that time, there is the possibility of looking within, starting to investigate, well, wait a minute, where is this happiness that I'm looking for? If obviously it's real, it's not like there is nothing to do, like you said. No, I know happiness. We all know happiness. We don't know it because our teacher or father or guru or rabbi or mother told us about happiness. We know happiness experientially. We know happiness. We don't need anybody to explain to us happiness. So because we do know happiness, and we at some point realize it's not out there, it's not in a relationship, it's not in money, it's not in power, it's not in position, it's not in a healthy body, then we start to look in a different direction. So if we turn our gaze inwardly, we say, well, then where is happiness, or what is happiness if it's not out in the world? So this investigation will lead us to many, many questions. First of all, it may lead us to the question of, well, happiness, for whom? Well, it's a simple question. Happiness for me, obviously. Well, then what does this mean? When I say me to myself, what do I mean? Am I referring to the body, David's body, of David's body when he was 12 or 18, 20, 40, 50? When I say me, what am I referring to? It can't be that I'm referring to the body, because every year the body is changing. Every moment, actually, the body is changing. Not in ways that are visible, but we can only see how the body is changing over maybe the years. But in fact, every instant, our body is changing. So when we say happiness for me, it can be for the body. So then what is it? Is it happiness for my mind? So, well, okay, maybe it's happiness from my mind. Then we say, well, what is my mind? What is my mind? So when I look at that question, what is my mind? I don't want to go into some philosophical or theoretical discourse about the mind is this and that. I'd rather go to my experience. So I say, what is the mind in my direct experience? In my direct experience, there is perception, there is bodily sensations, and there are thoughts, images, memories. But I don't have an experience of a mind. But so there are perceptions, sensations, thoughts, and images. That's my experience. That's the experience. So I say, well, maybe that's what we refer to by the mind. And by the way, this is how I refer to the term mind. I refer to the term mind as thoughts, perceptions, sensations. So that's, why not? A word like any other, So then the question is, happiness for whom? Well, not for the body. Then is it happiness for the mind? Meaning happiness for the thoughts, happiness for the sensations, happiness for the perceptions. A thought doesn't feel happy or unhappy. A sensation doesn't feel happy or unhappy. A perception doesn't feel happy or unhappy. It is I. Happiness for I. So I've ruled out the body, which is constantly changing. I've ruled out the mind, which is constantly changing, a flow of thoughts, perceptions, sensations. What remains? Most people would say, well, I don't know, nothing remains. But that's not what I say. I say there is something that remains, which is, I use the term awareness. I'm not married to the word, okay? So sometimes I use the word consciousness, I use the word presence, I use the word beingness. Sometimes there's the word knowingness. It doesn't matter. But it's something that remains. It's something that is always there. It's when whatever it is that perceived the body of David when he was 12 years old, whatever it is that perceived that body in the mirror, is that same, whatever it is, that perceives the body of David today in the mirror. I, what I will refer to as I. I like the term I because we all get it. When we say I, we don't need to explain I. We all somehow, at some level, we get it. We get it, but we mistake the I to be the body, to be an image, or to be a memory, or whatever, or the story. In spite of mistaking I to be an object or something, we still get it that I means something to all of us. We all know I. We all know I, because when we ask ourselves the question, am I? Right now, we ask ourselves, am I? The answer is yes, of course I am. So then happiness is for the I. So then I take a look at the I, say, well, how do I take a look at the I? After all, I am I. You know what I mean? Like you can take a look out the window at your car or traffic. You can look out the window at the oak tree in the yard. But how do you look at I, given that you are I, that I am I?
It's more subtle, it's formless.
Yes, it's more, and you're right, it is absolutely formless, and yet it knows itself. I know I am. It's fascinating because it's a shift in paradigm. It's like, I thought all along that I can only know objects. I can know the color yellow. I can know the model of my car, which is phenomenal. But here is a situation where I know I, which is formless, know myself to be, there is a formless self-knowingness, which is different from knowing a form. And that self-knowingness is always there.
So is that what is called self-realization or enlightenment? Just knowing that?
The way I use the term self-realization is much more than that, David. It starts with this sort of inquiry. In terms of the self-realization is when the false notions, the false beliefs that we have about ourselves start to sort of drop away, when they start to sort of dissolve, the more let's say the less beliefs there are about me being this, being that, the more happiness there is, because the beliefs I am this and I am that, they limit us and they constrain us. So as those limitations, I sometimes say self-imposed, limitations and constraints weaken or dissolve their grip within us, then the more we find ourselves happy. So self-realization is happiness, causeless, not a happiness because we got a promotion, but causeless happiness.
So it sounds like there's a sort of an evolution, a spiritual evolution that a person goes through that has a process and a goal. The process being experiencing our own awareness, our own consciousness, and the goal being happiness, peace,
yes,
freedom.
You could say that, David, right? Because in everything that we do, we have the goal of happiness. Even when we want to have a great relationship, or have a great position, or have a great house, or a great relationship with our children or family, it's because of happiness. It's about happiness. So yes, yes, I think that's a valid, it resonates for me, that basically the goal, if you want to say this, is happiness. But our life is only in the now. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there are past memories and so on, but even the past memories, they arise to us in now, in the presence, in nowness. So happiness, wherever, whenever or wherever we are going to discover it, we're going to discover it in our current experience now. It's not possible to discover happiness in 2025, you know, because when 2025 will come, it will be now, you know. It will be now. So I always invite us to look right now, to look at now, to contemplate our experience now. And yes, there is a process, as you said, which is a process of understanding. And the understanding is more the understanding about the false, the belief that I refers to a male or to a female. To understand that I is neither male or female. The body, yes, our male bodies, female bodies, short bodies, fat bodies, muscular, or blah, blah. But I'm not talking about the body, I'm talking about I. When we say I, we're not referring to a female I, a male I, a tall I, a South African I, or you follow? We're just talking about I. We all know I means awareness. Invisible but undeniable reality of our experience in this moment. Every moment we are experiencing awareness, consciousness, 24/7.
But sometimes it's overshadowed.
Often, unfortunately, yes. But you know, as I like the metaphor of the clouds and the sky, you know, the clouds, they seem to veil the sky. But you're welcome, Manoj. But in fact, they don't. It's like, okay, the waves, you could say, oh, the waves are disturbing the ocean. But they don't, you know. So I don't give too much power to this disturbance or to this, you know, veiling. No, because from consciousness point of view, from the reality of our experience, everything is already welcome. Everything already is, you know, it's after the fact that we file a complaint. You know what I mean? It's already, our experience is already happening. And then we say, oh, gee, why did this happen? But in fact, before we file our complaint, consciousness has already said yes. Because if it didn't say yes, it wouldn't even occur. The experience wouldn't even occur. In religious terms, everything is God's creation. There are no issues. Issues are man-made. The man-made. Oh, it shouldn't be like this. She shouldn't act like this. He shouldn't do that. The government shouldn't be like this. The planet shouldn't be like that. Blah blah. And that's when we separate ourselves. You know, in religious lingo, we separate ourselves from God. We separate ourselves from God. Now we're more knowing than God. You know, wait, gee, why did she act like that? Oh, you know, finally we complain with God. You know, because there's only one creation, one creator, one source, one reality. In religious term, we say God. Here we say consciousness, awareness. It's okay. Whatever terms work, doesn't matter. It's the understanding that matters. Okay, David. Nice meeting you. shadow.
Magdi,
Oui, salut Shiva.
Magdi.
Hi Shiva. Yes, let me see one
Quand je
moment.
vais mettre la vidéo, je suis en train de faire un, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of doing a juicing thing.
Okay.
I just wanted to continue this conversation
Yes.
by bringing in the concept of other.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I do hear you clearly, yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So the concept of other, right? So we were talking about I am, realizing who I am, and realizing the resistances, really realizing the drive we all have, or I has, to be in happiness, right?
Yes.
So then we all know, I mean, it's evident, we all know that there is conflict, there is misunderstanding, there is aggression, there is fear, there is whatever. And so I'm a little, I would like to hear some words about it, because it's one thing to say I am, and everything I am is I am. And so whoever is shouting at me, whoever is mistreating me or lying to me or whatever is actually lying to herself. It all happens within me. But then how come it still happens within me? You know what I mean? I mean, why is the projection that I am, meaning that screaming guy, why does he appear?
Right.
Is the why question a valid question, or is it all about transcending all the time? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's kind of interesting how sometimes I am totally, I mean, I'd say 90% of the time I'm really transcending, and then suddenly something gets to a me, gets to some sort of feeling hurt about it, or being sad about it, or getting angry about it, And then it takes a little while, and there's some sort of work to be done, I guess, of contemplation, of understanding, and then that dissipates again. But the question is, how do we apply our understanding of Advaita to the concept of other? What's anything you want to say about it?
Right.
Thank you.
Yes. So, God knocks on our door, says, hello, I love you. And we say, I love you too. Can you come back next week? Because I'm busy right now. I've got issues to settle with my neighbor, I'm busy. So God goes away, but God loves you too much. Maybe he will stay away for a week, but maybe he may come back 3 days, he knocks on your door again and says, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't stay away a whole week. I want to hang out with you. I love you. And you tell God, damn, I mean, God, you came 4 days too early. And so, I'm not done yet, come back. But because God loves you so much, he's going to come and knock on your door even louder. He may knock on your door at midnight. You're in bed, you're struggling with your issues in your dreams and your thoughts about this other, that's whatever issues. But in the middle of your rest, so-called rest, God knocks on your door loud, really loud. So as a metaphor, it's all about your freedom. It's about your freedom. This loud knock on your door, this irritation, It's not because you know, God doesn't love you. No, it's about your freedom, and your freedom, of course, is God's freedom within you. It's God's freedom that's shining within you. You know, that's the same. It's the same freedom, you see, and it's a freedom that's shining through everybody's heart, everybody's being, even though sometimes we may not see it or disagree or not see it, you see, but we invite ourselves to the understanding that there is only one freedom. My freedom and the freedom of the so-called other is the same dawn freedom, which is God's freedom, not my personal freedom, not their personal freedom. It is a freedom that's shining through them, that's given to them unconditionally. So your unconditional freedom is equal to everybody's unconditional freedom. This is how it is in God's kingdom. Now, in man's kingdom, it's different. It's different. My freedom, my understanding, my point of view is the popular one. I have more votes. I have more financial support and more, donations, and I win. I have 51 of the votes. You have 49. I'm sorry. You're going to have to wait, another 10 years. You see, that's how it is in men's world. So it's challenging at times because it knocks on our door at 2 o'clock in the morning. You see, it rubs us the wrong way. It's disturbing. It's disturbing us. It's freaking. Get out of my way. Not now. You see, all is well with me. Why the heck is this happening? You see. So, oh Shiva, I don't hear you. Je t'entends pas si tu parles. Je t'entends pas. Wait, maybe I need to hold on. Maybe I need to do something. Okay, try now. Maybe no.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I hear you. Yes, now I hear you.
Okay, perfect. Because it's sort of like it's not only about how to navigate, the unpleasant knock in form of a ignorant or aggressive human being. That's not it. Because there's enough knowledge now to deal with it, and actually it deals with itself all the time. So that's fine. But I was more talking about, or the question goes more into a sort of philosophical direction where I'm saying I am, and and I'm not thinking, okay, because it's this sort of like balance between completely feeling and being identified with the feeling and being super passionate and super like, full of that. Like I used to be, like everything's like feeling and feeling. And what Ashtavakra says, which says basically like the wise man doesn't care whether or not he is lauded or criticized. He is always, in. And I'm like, and I don't think it's about not feeling anything. And I don't think it's about constantly being sort of intouchable, nothing can get to you or something, because I feel like that's part of my life, is that things get to me, or people get to me, that I'm not a hermit living alone in the forest and nothing ever touches me. So that's not it. In the same time, I'm intrigued to see I'm intrigued to see this amount of fear and the amount of aggressiveness which is coming into our societies, and very little into my life. Really, I'm very, very lucky with that. But still, I notice how then every once in a while something gets to me, and then I'm like, whoa, so I am, and you are me, and you're manifesting as aggression? And then, is it just my mind saying aggression is bad and love is good?
No.
But it's not true.
No,
You know what I mean? Because love is what
No,
this life is all about. And
of
aggression
course.
is not loving, you know? So, I mean, it's kind of weird because it's duality and non-duality in the same time, you know?
No. In non-duality, we don't speak so much about, you know, bypassing. It's not a bypassing process where we're all one, and therefore, you know, bullies or people who are unkind, they don't affect us. Of course, they do, and we do what we can do to avoid these sorts of situations. But sometimes we are in situations where, yes, we are facing a barking, not unhappy, unfriendly dog, and we do feel that. We feel the fear, the irritation, and we do the best we can. The main thing is not to retain it, not to make a story. Of course, we're going to avoid walking by that house where they have the wild dog there, the guard dog that can jump over the fence and bite us. Yes, but that's more like a part of our intelligence. It doesn't have anything to do with unhappiness. You see, it doesn't have anything to do with happiness or unhappiness. There is of course the wisdom of how to navigate your life, who to relate with, who you enjoy being with, who you don't like to enjoy the company. Sometimes we have no choice. Sometimes we, like you shared with me, sometime where you will have to go to the store, and those people, I don't know, they're very, very unfriendly, or, you know, okay, in some case, you don't have any other choice. So you go in, you make your visit sweet and short, you pick up your groceries, hello, goodbye, and
right.
Hopefully you go to a better place where now you're enjoying yourself, you see. But the thing is, you have to understand that there's a good person and a bad person. No, you know, it's a bad mix. There is a mix that's not working. Okay, fine. There's a mix that's not working. But that this is good and that is bad. No, they're both, because on this side, I'm thinking the other person is bad. But on their side, they're thinking, I am bad. On my side, I'm thinking, I'm good. On their side, they're thinking, they're good. So depending on their conditioning, their history, their degree of intelligence, of education, of exposure, of understanding, is different from mind to mind to mind to mind to mind. Right? Right. So I'm not going to therefore say, well, that is the good one. This classification is the good. This classification is not the good. No, but I agree with you that the mix is what it is. If it's not a friendly mix, then you navigate, and you will feel it.
See, my question wasn't like, again, I mean, thank you very much. If what you say is up 100% a good guidance, but the question was, we are one.
Yes, as consciousness.
There is no other.
But wait.
No matter how I navigate the bullshit or the aggressivity or whatever, there's tons of great ways, but we are one.
Yeah, but in the forest, it's one forest, but in the forest, you're going to find some thorny trees, you're going to find some palm trees, you're going to find some avocado trees, etc. Yes, there is a level of where you are saying that we are one, but the one includes the diversity. It includes the many.
Yeah. But then it's like, it's so interesting. I find it. I'm not automatically wanting an answer to this. I just wanted to poke my finger into it, because if we are one, the thorns are one, and the rose petals are one. It's all one.
Yes.
And then it's like, in a moment, the me comes in and says, what the fuck? Nothing but thorns.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then it's sort of like, we say, oh, that's God knocking at your door, you know? And then you're sort of like getting through it. And so it's like, I'm just really interested in this, how to apply on a living, because I constantly do this. I'm like, you know, the other day I blew up into some bully's face and let him have it, you know, and I was ready to fist fight. And then it's gone. And then in another moment, the same situation, I would completely transcend it and say, oh, poor baby, he's so full of fear and he's this and that and that. And in reality, oh, my heart is reaching out to him or whatever. And I just shut up and as you say, make my visit short and sweet. But it's sort of like all of this occurs in the seeming diversity, and yet it's all fundamentally one.
Yes. Now, experientially, for yourself, when you're in spite of the understanding that all is one, whenever you are experiencing the negative emotions, which for yourself, whatever they are, it's your own business. Whenever you're experiencing the negative emotions, at that moment, the all is one, there is a veil upon this all is one. The negative emotion is the expression in the body of this veil. This is not to be misunderstood. I'm not saying that that the relationship with a aggressive dog and the relationship with a friendly dog are the same. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, whenever we experience the negative emotions, at that moment, there is a veil upon our understanding.
You mean because there's there's the possibility of having a negative emotion appearing in your environment in form of a dog or human being, doesn't matter, and reacting by a negative emotion, or fear or counter-aggression, or you can have the negative emotion appearing in your field and you yourself are untouched.
Yes. What appears in your field, in your awareness, is an event that is an event. Okay, it's not a negative emotion. Negative emotion is personal.
Mm-hmm. So the guy who's appearing in front of me,
when I'm speaking about the negative emotion, I'm speaking about our experience, not the event, not that which we perceive.
So when you speak of a negative emotion, you're speaking about my internal reaction to whatever the event is in front of me. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm talking about your negative emotion. Yes, your negative.
My negative emotion. And I was not talking about the negative emotion. I was talking about the quote unquote other.
The
so
event.
That quote unquote other is appearing in my energy field, which is perfectly harmonious and content. And he is just screaming at me because of XYZ. And he thinks he has the right to do so. Okay.
Well, you walk away,
Yeah. Well.
A rabid dog. If a rabbit.
You go into how to react about it. My question is the philosophical one. I'm saying, so what's the difference between my negative emotion coming from inside of me and a negative emotion coming from outside, which has nothing to do with me? It's one, right? It's to some degree.
It's God's play. I mean, God plays the rabid dog, and God plays God plays the sweet dog that wants to, just be at your feet and follow you everywhere because the dog loves you.
There is like Joel Goldsmith, who I really dearly love.
Yes.
Says that everything negative is in fact human. It's not God. He says that negativity and negative thought.
What about the volcanic eruption that kills?
That's not negative. It's a volcanic eruption.
So what okay, I don't want to talk about Joel Goldsmith. I admire.
No, I just, yes, I'm just saying it's an interesting, because this is exactly where we're going with this conversation. You know, I mean, in the sense of like, what is really negative? Is negative only when I perceive it negative?
Okay, I think I see your question. Now, when let's say that I start yelling at you, okay, you know, and I'm acting towards you in a negative way, or you run into somebody who, as you said, at the store, they start yelling at you, okay. Now, at that level, we could say that this person is it's a negative thing, and it's a man's creation, like Joel Goldstein said, that negative are man's creation. Now, this person yelled at you because certain thoughts appeared to them. They didn't choose their
right.
thoughts. We don't choose our thoughts. Because we don't choose our thoughts, we don't even choose our choosing thought. We don't even choose our choosing thought. Thoughts appear to us. So therefore, whoever is downloading the thoughts, okay, that we are perceiving, oh my God, I'm going to yell at this guy. Whoever is downloading the thoughts is behind the human mind. In other words, if you stop just at the human mind, say, okay, well, this is the responsible party, is this the human mind, you are not going a step behind that to what is it that is guiding this behavior. And what guides our behavior are thoughts and feelings.
Thoughts are made by God. Is that what you say?
Well, that word. I mean, wait a minute. I'm not talking about like God up there. That's the big God behind the cloud.
No.
Sorry, I mean,
I just crudely use the word. Yes,
all I'm saying is that thoughts appear to us. We do not create our thoughts.
No, this is understood. But I still have a choice, right? I mean, whatever.
How do you make a choice? You make a choice. There are like 5 thoughts that come to you, and at some point there is a thought that appears to you saying, "Go right," or "Cook pasta," or call Henry.
I mean, neti, right? So let's say I have the thought of I want to really scream at you, and I'm like, who wants to scream at you? And I sort of dissolve it. I just inquire into it. And then, I mean, I can act. I have millions of, my system receives millions of thoughts. Okay. If I would act on all of them, I would be. So why is the one who's screaming his head off, he's acting on a thought that millions of other people have, and they don't.
But no. You're assuming that there is an actor who is picking a thought and saying, "I'm going to act upon this thought." No, there is a thought that arises at some moment. There is the choosing thought, the acting thought. There are many thoughts that appear to you, and at some moment there is a thought that says, "Yep, I'm going to go to the beach today." That the deciding thought is not that there is a personal decider of the thought. There is a deciding thought that appears to us. Take a look at that.
So everything is completely 100% predetermined?
Not predetermined. It is everything is predetermined. Assumes that there is time, that there is an orchestra that Beethoven has written the symphony. Huh?
Okay, got it. It determines itself spontaneously in a timeless, spaceless situation.
Okay, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah, all right. So nothing happens, in fact, and then the question is it still a question of more maturity?
I didn't say nothing.
Take it personal.
I'm sorry, I didn't say nothing happens. Okay, I mean, it depends on what level you're speaking, because at the level of phenomena right now, we could say there is something happening that Magdi and Shiva are having a conversation with friends here, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on what level. What I'm saying is that that all behaviors, all actions, human actions, let's say, they arise in the moment via the process of thinking that guides our behavior. But it doesn't occur in time. It's sort of it occurs in the eternity of now. And
right. I totally get it.
After the fact, we say, oh yeah, I thought about whether I was going to go to the beach or going to go for a walk in the woods, and I decided this and that and that. And after the fact, we have a narrative about a process that was beyond narrative, that didn't have a narrative in it. Narrative is after the fact, and the narrative we have about ourselves and about others, they're also narratives.
Right. I completely get it. It's just back to the branch of the question, which is the other. So we have this concept of the other, which we know doesn't exist on the highest level of looking at it.
Yeah, okay.
And yet there's a manifestation of millions and billions and trillions of others. And so we all have stuff occurring to us, thoughts become actions, and they just manifest.
Yes.
And so it's like you have all these asteroids in space, and they sort of constantly hit into each other.
Well,
because each one is doing her own thing, and bang, bang. You know what I mean? I mean,
so there is bang, bang, and there is also the understanding about harmony. So yes, there is, as you say, there is the ignorance. There is ignorance where bang, 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 bang. But there is also the understanding about harmony, about the dance, about the flow. There is both. Yes.
The beauty of the rings of Saturn came from millions of years.
Can we just finish this conversation, my dear? Is that possible? And then speak about the rings of Saturn afterwards. I would appreciate.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
So, in terms of the other, Shiva, it's very interesting because, let's say for me, he or she is the other. But for her or for him, I am the other. So I am both the other and not the other. And the other is both the other and not the other.
Right. I get it.
It's interesting.
Totally.
But when you look at like, how can I, for example, understand the other? I cannot understand the other. I can understand myself. But in understanding myself, I'm understanding the other because I'm also, from a certain perspective, I am also the other. So
right.
I am not the other and I am the other.
Yes. And I think this is exactly the conclusion I came to while you were talking, is that it's basically a question of different dimensions. So depending on what dimension you're on, you are navigating this world of other, and then it's about, okay, sweet and short, or punch it in the face, or run away, or you have all these things. But on another level, I mean, on the highest expression, nothing is really happening, and there is peace and harmony beyond the absence of peace and harmony.
Yes, but the peace and harmony, which is really, really beautiful, the peace and harmony is actually what our meetings are about. It's about the understanding about the harmonious aspect of the navigation of so the understanding about truth, not about my beliefs. And I mean, we all have our beliefs. I'm talking about understanding about reality, about truth, about the reality of awareness. The universality of awareness. That understanding is the path of harmony, the path of love, and not like the path of I'm being sympathetic to you or something. No, it's the path of like the absolute, the absolute understanding about peace and love and harmony and intelligence and wisdom. And yes, you are right. There are, in the manifest, there are, forces banging against each other. And we all know that. I mean, we've lived our life. I mean, most of our life in that. But here we are, you know, we're exploring not just our conditioned opinions and beliefs, and well, we all come from different. We all come from a different railroad tracks that were like, you know, deeply dug into us. We all come from with those deep wounds. We're coming to the exploration of something beyond these repetitive patterns.
I mean, it's amazing to see, and the more I live, the more this is seen and understood, is that life itself is harmony. Life itself is balance. And that whatever happens, like you said, the volcano eruption earlier, when a volcano eruption happens, well, nothing happens, because all that happens is a reshuffling of land mass versus sea mass, and fertility comes later, et cetera, et cetera. So when I look into life on every level except the human one, or seemingly the human one, it's a natural return into homeostasis. And I think this is what the teachers mean. That was, I think, the first question, his question about there's nothing you need to do. There is nothing you need to do, in the sense that as long as you step out of your way, which is basically letting go of this idea that I'm a separate human being, then everything turns naturally back into a state of relaxation and homeostasis and harmony. So it's interesting, like we humans, we have this thing of like, you know, fighting and aggressivity and all that kind of stuff, which is, because it's one thing if a tiger kills a zebra, you know, there's no, I mean, that we might call this aggressive, but it's like, it's a natural kind of act. It's another thing to put 6 million Jewish people into concentration camps. You know, so I'm like, what is this? Because I cannot say it's not me, because I'm a human being. I'm sitting in a human body. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like this whole idea of the other is, anyway. So, but
yeah,
it's an endless story.
Well, it's a contemplation. You know, we attribute reality to things, to the world, to the body, to the mind. We attribute reality to the world without attributing reality to consciousness.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, it's the other way around. The only reality there is consciousness.
Is a crucial flaw in our understanding.
So in other words, what's happening right now collectively could be explained as the concept of materiality fucking us completely up, because we're so holding on to this that the system itself is making a volcano eruption so that we can finally wake up. Basically, that's it.
In a way, that's I think that would be a good point. You know, I mean, we attributed reality to the world.
God is really knocking at our doors. Holy cow!
You know, right? So, and also due to the sense of separation, therefore there is, you know, me and mine referring to what is real. And in my mind, in the conditioned mind, what is real is the car, the money, the bank account, the house, you know, that's what's real. Reality, we attribute reality to the world, the body, the mind, and not to consciousness. Right. As a result of that, yes.
Upside down world. Merci Magdi, comme toujours.
Okay.
Thank you. Love you. Thank you.
Sure. I see there are a lot of comments in the in the chat, but there's too much for me to read. If there are any questions, it's better to go that way. Any questions? Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, thank you all. George, Holger, David, nice to meet you, David. Shiva, Grace, Ola, Jenny, Patrick, hey, Patrick, Nathan, John, hi John, Marga, and also Jenny, there are two Jennys, Karim, Lisa, hey Frank. Okay.
Thanks,
nice to see you. You're not driving.
I have a good reason. I'm sick, so.
Oh, okay. I hope you feel better. Okay. Okay. I hope you feel better, Frank.
Thanks,
yes.
See you.
Zoe and Ibrahim. Thank you all. Very lovely to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Magdi.
Hola, Jenny.
Hola.